everyone, it's Rockline. You're watching another Supernatural review, and this is season 3, episode 2, The Kids Are Alright. If you're new here, I'm doing like a recap and review of every single episode of Supernatural, so let's get into it. So this is an episode, and it's a really important episode, but I always had issues with this episode because it's so scary. Like, out of all the episodes of Supernatural, like my first time watching, like, this was the episode I was most scared of. Like, I swear to God, it was so scary to me. So I've only watched this episode once, even though it's such an important episode, and like I feel like a lot of people know this episode, and we're gonna get into why it's so important. But I've only watched it once, and it's something where it's kind of like, even though I've only watched it once, like I kind of like remember like what happened because of just like the importance of this episode, when a lot of the other episodes that I've like only watched once, like I don't really remember what happens. Like some episodes I've watched multiple times and I still don't remember what happens. But I have to be honest, like watching this episode, I was not that scared. Like, I understand why as a kid I was really scared, but like now, I mean, not as a kid, I was like 15. But I remember like why I would be scared, like why I was scared. But I think now I'm just like more used to horror in that way. And I was kind of someone who was like so scared of horror that Supernatural, like I was really scared, worried about starting. And the first couple seasons, because they are more scary, I watched those like during the day because I was kind of worried to be scared at night. And so I think like Supernatural itself like helped me get used to more horror. And I feel like I don't watch a lot of horror related things. Like, horror is not my tea. But recently I just watched a few horror movies and I was like fine. So I don't know. And then like obviously this episode that like really scared me, like I always thought this was the scariest Supernatural episode like I was fine with. So, and I think it was the aspect of like the kids feeding on the mom is like what scared me, and the kids were kidnapped and the kids were acting that way. I don't know. So this episode is important because of Lisa and Ben. And it's something interesting because we have seen like a past love interest to Dean before, but then we never saw her again. And so this one, they had it kind of the same thing where it's like a past love interest, but this one obviously is different because she is a kid. And it's something where he's like, oh my God, is this my kid? And he's actually a lot like Dean in so many ways, but she tells him like, he's not your kid, but you know, if you're a Supernatural fan, like we see her in the future. If this is your first time watching Supernatural, sorry to spoil it, but like Lisa and Ben show up again in the future and they're important, and we actually see a lot of them at some points that I won't go too much in, I won't spoil it too much, but they are important to the story. And that's why this episode is important, because this is the introduction to them. So I'm kind of like, what exactly came first? Like this idea that they wanted to do this thing with Lisa and Ben, or the Monster of the Week? And I bet you it was the Monster of the Week that they came up with first. Someone had this idea, and because I've been analyzing these episodes so like closely, I noticed there's so many ghosts, and so they're always trying to think of doing monsters that aren't ghosts. And so sometimes they're like weird things where it's like it's a changeling, I think it was, like feeding off the mom. So they had these changelings, be the kid and be feed off the mom. So it's like something where it's like, okay, they could have had it where they were just going to town and they observed this, or like whatever, like it didn't have to have this connection. But I think the writers are still looking for things to add to the story, and so they were like, what if we have it where it's like a past fling, and then it's like this thing where it's like, could this be Dean's son? And maybe we have potential to bring her back in the future. And I also feel like it makes sense at this moment because we know Dean is going to die. Well, he does die at the end of the season. So I think they kind of also were like, what if we bring this thing in, this like more emotional thing, to try to mess a little bit with his head, like, oh, this possibility of like this life with like this woman and this having a kid, like, and like what that would do, which I don't think we see it that much in this episode, like all that, but that's the thing, is like, I can't remember if Lisa and Ben show up again in season 3. Like, obviously, as I said before, they show up again in the series, but I don't remember if it's in season 3, so I don't really know. But yeah, they went down this path where it's like, they, by having like one of them have a kid, it opens the door, and that's why they kind of close that door. But it still was brought into it, and still it's like a door that has opened, and once you open that door you can't close it. It's something where it's like they were saying it's not his kid, so the door is still slightly ajar, but it's still there, and like this whole other side of like, but it's so different than their lifestyle is now open. And even Dean was kind of disappointed when she said like, it's not your son, like she pointed it out. I would say there wasn't really saving the girl element, it was more like saving the kids. And I feel like it's something where it just felt like the momentum was so much more. And they also had that like kind of like, not side plot, but like that mom who like she recognized it was not her child, and like what she did because she's like, this is not my child. I think that was also so scary as a kid. Yeah, overall an important episode because this is how Lisa and Ben are introduced. And I don't know if right away when they were writing this, if they ever thought they were going to bring them back. Who knows, because I can't remember if they were in season 3. If they were in season 3 again, I feel like they knew that they were going to bring them back. But if they are not in season 3, then they probably didn't know. But overall, like, I think even though this isn't top episode of Supernatural, I think it goes down on those list of like important episodes, even though it's not the greatest. But anyway, thank you guys for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, and bye. I forgot something really important to say, is that Ruby is in this episode also, and she tells Sam that she's a demon, and then she has also Sam like look into like all his mom's stuff, which is like something I didn't really remember, is like looking into the mom's friends and whatever, and seeing that they all died too. Like, I don't know if they were like trying to go somewhere with the plot as well there, but I don't really remember what happened there. But I think the important thing to make note that I forgot to say in my video is that Sam finds out Ruby's a demon. I don't even know if she said her name at this point, but he finds out she's a demon. Big point, I had to say it.